Radical.
All right, this is first on my schedule of uploads to get out of the way. I'm not going to have any detailed thoughts on either one of these games. I'm comboing these together. I am because I have some comment reply shows to get caught up on, but I can't not give my thoughts on these two games, which is difficult because I didn't get to see most of these two games outside of maybe a break or two at work, something like that, catching some highlights, or catching the game and then catching some highlights after the game. And then pretty much mostly reading what a lot of the people were saying about the games, looking at the stats, things of that nature. I might go into some of these stats here, I might not. Basically, same as it ever was. You know that one song by, let's see, water moving underground and in motion. Yeah, I used to know the lyrics by heart to that song. But, it was the same as it ever was. You think we could get something interesting in the Super Bowl? Maybe the Lions, a great story, a team coming out of nowhere. Maybe the Ravens, who haven't been in the Super Bowl since 2012. Something a little different than the Chiefs or the 49ers. Something a little less predictable, but that's not what we get. We get the 49ers and Brock Purdy, which is kind of new because he's in his second year. He is the third youngest quarterback to be starting in a Super Bowl. So big props to Brock Purdy, a person that for some reason a lot of people have hatred for. I don't understand it. It's like just because the guy's not a number one pick, people are going to hate on him. I mean, why don't people like underdogs? Like, I don't understand it. The Lions were underdogs this year. Is it because he's on the 49ers? Maybe, possibly, but just because they have a great coach and some great players and McCaffrey and Kittle and Nick Bosa and all of them, just because they have great players on a team doesn't mean he deserves some hate for, I don't know, having great players on a team. It doesn't automatically mean that you're going to have great quarterback play, but in that game, I've seen highlights, I've looked at stats, man. Like, he finished like a champ, dude. He finished like a champ. He brought that team back. The biggest story of this is not the Chiefs beating the Ravens because it's Patrick Mahomes, it's Chiefs, it's Kelsey, and it's Taylor Swift, which I'll get into in a moment here. That's not the big story. I mean, yeah, the Ravens, you would think they put up a little bit more of a fight, sure, score some more points. But the big story is the fact that the 49ers were losing at halftime to the Lions. The Lions were ripping them apart, biting and clawing and scratching, ripping the 49ers apart. They led that game 24-7, I do believe, at halftime. 24-7. So you would think the game's pretty much over. I'm looking at the stats here, and I think in the past, 20 years, or I don't think it's ever. Might be ever. I don't know. Could be just two teams that have come back from a 17 point deficit? No, wait. 24-7? 17? Okay, yeah, 17. 17-point deficit at halftime or anytime, I believe. This is where it'd be helpful if I had like a lot of stats in front of me, but I don't. I just remember reading this. It'd be only the second time a team has come back from a 17-point deficit at halftime to win. Now, I think the biggest comeback in the Super Bowl was Brady coming back against the Falcons, I do believe. But this is at halftime. Not only did they come roaring back, but there was a 27-point swing in their direction. The Lions just collapsed. The 49ers had all the momentum. The Lions made some costly mistakes. It was a fumble here. Just terrible play by the Lions. Terrible play calling. And the weird thing about this is the Lions had multiple opportunities to not go for it, but they went for it. Dan Campbell, their coach, he has some big old brass balls. And what got them to the dance is ultimately their kryptonite. They could have had a couple 3-point field goals, and the score would be 37-34. But no, they had to prove how strong they were, and they had to go for it on these fourth downs. And it didn't work out for him, you know? I mean, Jared Goff, he's Jared Goff. Like, he ain't Mahomes, you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't do that shit if you have, like, Jared Goff. No offense, but he's not one of the all-time great quarterbacks, right? But this is 49ers team that they came back from a deficit in the last game against the Packers. So, yeah, that's the big story here, is their comeback and the fact that you see a guy that he's not the most athletic. He wasn't a number one draft pick, but Brock Purdy is getting it done. He's actually in the MVP conversation for the regular season. And it's not just because he has a stacked team. He is leading that team, and he led them to a Super Bowl. So win or lose to Patrick Mahomes, no one's going to blame him if he loses in his second year to Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl. So it was a win, massive win for the 49ers this season. They got their guy. They found their quarterback. And it's just wild, man. You know? But I think most people actually wanted to see the Lions get to that Super Bowl. Maybe it's bad karma because Eminem was at the game and he was flipping off 49ers fans. Sometimes it's karma to get you, man. Sometimes it's karma. You know? All right, to the Chiefs and the Ravens. I don't know what the hell the Ravens were doing, but they abandoned their run game, which was elite. I think they only had 6 carries or 6 run plays outside of, I think, 40 pass plays by Lamar. Lamar, who was just not accurate in the game, I don't know what the hell happened because they're a number 1 seed. They're a number 1 seed, and they just shit the bed against the Chiefs. The Chiefs this year, not nearly as good as years past. But you cannot let a team with Kelsey and Mahomes, coached by Andy Reid, you have to put them away early. The Ravens should have done what the Lions did. And I don't know if the Chiefs can come back with that particular team that they had. They don't have all the weapons. But they did it. They did it with a little help from their friends. And you know who their friends were? The referees. Some of the referees should have basically been wearing some Chiefs gear because there were several pass interferences. Specifically, the one a lot of people were focusing on, which was stupid on the part of Lamar, their quarterback, who shows he's not exactly the smartest quarterback around because he threw a ball in triple coverage. It's one thing to throw a pass to somebody who's being covered and then double covered, but triple coverage. That means you have like a 25% chance of actually getting that ball to the person. I guess he was desperate. And what happened there was something that should have bailed him out, meaning pass interference. One of the guys of the 3 not only just pushed or shoved him, just kind of like fell on him. And correct me if I'm wrong, if the ball's in the air and the receiver is being fell on, then I don't think he can jump up and get the ball, can he? Then it's the place of the referees to throw a flag for pass interference. But if you don't do that, then it kind of helps the Chiefs a little bit. Now, there were some penalties by the Ravens. Stupid penalties in this game. There was a taunting call by somebody. They were just not. So a lot of it is on the Ravens. And I'm not going to be one of these people that say, like, listen, because of the refs, they lost. No, they probably would have lost anyway. But you look at that score, 17-10. Mahomes only scored 17 points. Come on now. This is a weak Chiefs team. By all rights, they should not even be in the Super Bowl. But you know, one reason why they're in the Super Bowl, it is some of those ref calls. And like I said, I'm not saying that the Ravens would have rolled over them. No, not in that game. No, because they abandoned their run. They just played stupid. But let's say they get a touchdown there. Then it's tied. They go into overtime. You know? That play right there, that missed call by the referees, kind of sealed it for them. I'm surprised with the Ravens playing as bad as they did. They only lost by 7 points. But all is well. All is well for the NFL because the Super Bowl is going to do some big numbers. 49ers, Chiefs, a lot bigger numbers than the Ravens and the Lions. And the fact that the Chiefs are there means a certain someone's going to be there. You know, Kelsey's piece is going to be there. Taylor Swift. You know, the NFL is popular and all, and more popular than Taylor Swift. But the Swifties, they are a giant, I mean, there's a lot of Swifties there. Do not underestimate the power of the Swifties. Hell, just as many females might be watching the Super Bowl this year than males. Just to see Taylor Swift, just to see all the zoom and the pan outs to her. Hell, you know, big plays might be missed by the camera crew because they're focusing on Taylor Swift. I would say just drag her down there, just put her in the huddles with the team, right? Put her in the huddles. Maybe she put her in the halftime show. Hell, you know, can she kick? Is she a pretty good kicker? Get her in the game, right? That'll do some ratings, right? Let her kick some field goals or some shit, right? The important thing for the NFL is ratings, ratings, ratings. So it's no surprise for the refereeing. I was reading this also. They brought in one person on the referee crew that has the highest percentage of making calls against the home team in favor of the road team visiting. And that particular person just happened to be there. And an ex-referee in that aforementioned pass that was thrown into triple coverage, there was a other referee during the telecast actually basically said, yeah, it's a good call. That's a good call. You see, it was definitely that tackle was not before. It was not before the interception. Yeah, it was before the interception. Anyone with eyes could see that guy bowled over the receiver before the interception happened. But that's what these refs do, man, whether they're current refs or old refs, is they defend the calls that they think the NFL kind of wants. And believe me, Chiefs in the Super Bowl is much bigger business than Ravens in the Super Bowl. Just telling you the truth here. So what's my prediction? Who's going to go over in the Super Bowl? It doesn't matter because the NFL wins because Taylor Swift and her legion of Swifties will be tuning in.